So I just mounted my Zoom H6 with a tripod to my bed frame, which is mounted here on top of my standing desk. So now I do have a slight problem, which is the direction to which I am speaking to is here, and the other direction is here, so therefore we have a deviation. So therefore if I talk actually to the camera, since it records stereo, it only records in one direction. I can potentially bypass this problem by using the second capsule that actually came with the Zoom H6, which is a mono capsule, and it also doesn't record as directional as the other one. So actually let's take a look at the capsules. So of course I have the sound thing on here, and the sound thing is actually only working for these XY capsules, as they are called. So these are the capsules, and if I tap on there, of course the audio clips. So now what I will attempt to do is I will attempt to change these. I probably will switch off the video in between. So now this capsule, and I now have the other capsule. I think it is apparent that this capsule here captures more of the overall sound, since it has a wider angle, I think, and this captures more directional. So it actually, so it records basically here and then a little bit on the side. You can also change this up by adjusting the angle. So you can either record it with a 90-degree angle, like this, for example, but also you can switch it up to 120 degrees, which captures a wider variety. So basically it opens up the angle from which it records. And I do think that, well, this is much more a mic you would record from a very close source. As you can hear, I have a lot more going on right now, and it sounds a little bit more muffled, so therefore this is actually a win. What I could potentially do is, instead of mounting it in the middle, which is nice because it creates symmetry within my working space. So I do have this in the middle, and I also have my screen in the middle. Of course I have my camera set off to the side, but I cannot mount my camera in front of my screen because then I can actually not normally use the screen. And I do want now a setup that is actually ready to go at any point in time, where I can just switch on the audio. Not the audio, but I actually have to switch on the Zoom H6, and then I can just record something like this on my phone. And I don't have to worry about organizing things, about getting my lavalier mic and clipping the lavalier mic, and then getting something, and then having to unplug the mic and having to, well, it just is a huge problem. Another potential problem is that I sometimes record videos in the kitchen actually, and in the kitchen therefore I don't have a microphone. What I could potentially do is I could just have this in the kitchen at all times. So this would then be kind of the kitchen mic, and this would be my normal mic. But I do think this doesn't sound as good, so therefore maybe I will just switch it up and actually get rid of the basically of the symmetry, and actually have this mounted up here above of my phone mount. So what I did just realize is the following. If I want to move this actually and mount my Zoom H6 onto the ceiling, it would make sense that it would be kind of deployable. If I need my Zoom H6 down here, if I actually want to control the audio levels, I need to have it down here. So what I've looked into in the past already is switch plates. So this is the switch plate of the Zoom GorillaPod 5K, it is called. And it is basically a plate that has one of these screws on, and you can just take it and then just put it in here, and then just screw this, and it is secure. So this means you can now take this here. Now we mount the screw plate onto the Zoom H6, which we can do by using this lever here in the back, which very easily lets us allow to move the screw without turning basically the whole thing entirely all the time. And so now we can just mount this to here. Another potential benefit is that you now have a gigantic ball head, which you can also adjust. Of course, the potential problem is the more ball heads you have, the more friction you potentially create, and then with the smaller ball heads, I did have a lot of bad experience that they actually then moved, and then you just want to turn things a little bit, and then they move back, and it's just a hassle. So now there is a potential problem now, which is that on the GorillaPod itself, there is not the bigger screw head actually. There are two different sizes of screw heads. So here we have something that is basically an adapter for the larger one. And I also do have a singular adapter, which we now try to mount in here, even though it would make more sense if I actually took this one. But I probably cannot take this one off without actually using a thing. I don't know what the name of this is. And I just cannot look it up right now because my phone is dead. So it's this thing where you can take the thing and then remove it. So it's not a scissor, but this other tool. And now what we do is we take this one and mount it in here. We screw it in. And this now makes this into a smaller screw head hole, which is very nice. So what we now can do is we have one switchblade mounted to the Zoom H6, and these are standardized. So this is kind of the, I think this is called Arca Swiss. It's the Arca Swiss system, I think. And now we will mount this to the top. We already have two screw heads. The first one is up here, and the second one is down here. The first one is basically angled downwards, and the second one is just hanging. But we do need the hanging one, because otherwise I can not screw this one on top of here. And this also means that the whole thing here is hanging a little bit lower. Of course, then what happens also is that I am missing, oh, that seems to be some kind of problem with the adapter. And now it actually seems to work. And I do realize that the camera angle is not exactly optimal. So what I now can do is I can take the zoom, I can put it in here, and then just screw the Arca Swiss screw head onto here. And now it is fixed in place. Not necessarily in time, but I can now also rotate this and then angle it downwards, like this. And if I rotate it again, I even have the downwards knob towards me on the left side. And now I fix it in rotation, and then I fix the other one as actually the rotation fix. And now what this means is I can now plug it in. I then take the windshield, put it on, and then I can move back here, which is quite a little bit of a stretch, and then I can turn it on. And it actually fell down once, and ever since it fell down, maybe it's also due to a software issue, it just takes like 10 seconds for this to boot up. So now it is connected, and I now will connect this aux cable, which is the aux output, plug it in. Now I'm adjusting the levels more. I think it will be good at 9. And then I also have to put these on. These are the two stereo mics in the front. And then I can finally put this into place. And I do have the potential problem if this is hanging quite low. And I now put the phone back that I have this hanging into the picture. So therefore I have to maybe put my phone a little bit lower, which then screws up the viewing angle. So now I'm viewing it myself. I'm viewing myself. If I now tilt the phone slightly, it looks more like I'm watching actually the camera. The problem is on the Galaxy S10, the camera is actually not in the middle, but it is on the side. So therefore the question is, where do you look? Do you look here, or do you look here, or do you look here? Because you want to establish an eye contact, which I don't necessarily have all the time. The solution to this problem is to move farther away from the camera and then to crop in, because then the line is actually much more the angle basically. If the angle is the same, the further I move away, the less detectable is the eye line, basically my eye line. And the closer I move towards the camera, the more detectable my eye line is. So now I will switch to the other mic by taking this adapter also. So this comes here as a TRS signal, and then this is a TRS to TRRS adapter, which I now will switch. And in between you will hear the normal microphone from the Galaxy S10, which is also very nice, but it is just way less nice than a professional microphone. Now, this is the normal audio. Of course, I'm also quite close to the microphone now, and now it is connected. And now this is the ideal sound, hopefully. Now, what I also additionally usually do is, at least every now and then, I connect headphones, which I then can use to monitor the audio, since the Zoom H6 has a headphone output, but also a 3.5mm stereo line output, which is the one I have connected to my phone. So this means I have the signal, not necessarily the signal the phone records, and this is a potential problem, because if I am listening to the device up here and I have connected it, but there is a connection issue in the chain towards the phone, then what often happened is that I have a video file, I listen to it and it sounded great all the time, but if I then look at the audio file, if I watch the audio file on my phone, I realize the audio is not there because there was a connection issue. This actually happened a lot with connecting the Zoom H6 via USB to my Galaxy S10 in the past, which is the reason I switched to the analog method of using the headphone jack, which is also one of the main reasons I didn't consider upgrading my phones yet, because the Galaxy S10 has a headphone jack input, and the newer Galaxy S20, Galaxy S21, and also the 22 just don't. And now I am maybe tinkering a little bit with the angle, and as I move closer, you already maybe are observing a slight change in what it sounds like. I could also turn it up to the max volume. So this is the maximum volume. I currently have it on 9, and now it is on 10. And I think it sounds quite nice. Also, if you monitor yourself, what is very important, what I realized multiple times already, if I amp up the audio, the output actually, and I hear myself louder, then I tend to speak a lot quieter. If I remove the headphones, I realize that I don't even speak in basically normal levels that other people also could understand if they were next to me. So this is kind of a weird problem. So I do speak louder if I only have the monitor of my ears, and whenever I am connected to something like this and I do hear myself louder, then I adjust by speaking quieter. So there are two ways to combat this: either turn the mic level down or turn down the output of basically the headphone output, which I also can do, and I will do right now, and I will put it anywhere from 50 to 80 probably. If I record music, then I have to turn it up way more, because the audio feedback is way more important when it comes to the music. And that's how I mounted my phone, not my phone, but my Zoom H6 to the ceiling. Another potential problem is that I still now have this thing here dangling around whenever I monitor my audio, and I also just realized that I can take my lavalier mic off. I just had the idea of using the rest here in order to have these now dangling from here. So now what I can do is I can just take one of these and listen like this. And because this is also black, maybe it's not that noticeable, but it also is noticeable. And also, well, it looks very weird. So maybe I will not monitor the audio as much with the headphones in the future.